Welcome to Poetry Changes Lives Today, my book of poetry history, thought for the late day, all in the same book as it always is. I read myself a daily dose of poetry because it does me good. I really look forward to doing it because I know poetry has this power over me to sort of make me happy and get me into the right mood. It opens my mind to hold new ideas and imagery, and a kind of, it's like almost getting into a warm bath on a cold day. Poetrychangeslives.com is the website where you can read more about all that stuff. And if you wish, you can subscribe for free to receive a daily email with a bit of poetry and a few nice pictures. And you can buy this book here, of course, if you wish to. Let me demonstrate what's in the book. I hope I'm going to feel, well, I know I'm going to feel better after I read this. I hope you will too. Let's go for it. On this day in 1469, and incidentally, I apologize for the aeroplanes going over, but I also think that poetry should not just be read in perfect conditions to a silent room or a silent garden even. I think poetry is for all men at all times, and even when there is a bit of background noise, which I would prefer there wasn't, you know, we can still make the best of it. Shakespeare wrote a lot of stuff that was performed to a lot of background noise, and many other poets too, and people still get something from it. So I hope you will forgive me. On this day in 1469, the Italian writer and politician Niccolò Machiavelli was born in Florence. Well, his name Machiavelli is forever connected to the idea of the reality of power, the idea that the end justifies the means, and you need to be effective in power and governance. And he learnt all that during the Renaissance, when the city-states of Italy were fighting with each other for power. It was all almost petty, but it ended in a lot of bloodshed, and Machiavelli witnessed much of this, and he wrote his best-known book, The Prince, primarily for the Medici family who were in power in Florence. And it apparently, approves that basic tenet that the end justifies the means, that power is a reality, it's no good being idealistic. That's all very well for the likes of Plato to write about the ideal republic and, the best possible good for the best possible reasons and for the maximum number of people. But idealism doesn't really make a country effective, and that doesn't result in happiness for the majority. Well, people today still hold Machiavelli's views, really, though they continue to use his name in a pejorative sense. But there we are. Power and the reality of power is something we can't escape. It's well worth a read, actually, even today, Machiavelli's book, The Prince. I'm going to read a poem today by a poet who was not really a realist, William Butler Yeats, the famous Irish poet of the late 19th, 20th, early 20th century. He was he didn't like reality, really. He hated violence, and he much preferred to immerse himself in mythology, magic, and beautiful imagery. And his poetry is some of the most wonderful beautiful imagery and ideas that I've ever come across, and I absolutely love it. But I must say he is very much an idealist, a lover of times past, a lover of beauty. I'm not blaming him for that. I think he was extremely fortunate that he lived his life by those principles without getting into too much trouble, because today, the world is a much harder, tougher place, and we can long for the ideals of beauty and kindness and all those kind of things, and we certainly should have them as goals, but reality has to be faced as well. There are a lot of nasty people in the world, sadly. The power of evil has not gone away as some people would love, fondly thought would happen in later centuries. Sadly, the world is, if anything, worse than it was a few hundred years ago. Still, I'm not going to complain. William Butler Yeats is someone I can enjoy, and we can all enjoy, and it can put us in a better mood. I'm going to read part of his poem, A Man Young and Old, which is really about the fact that we have to take life as it comes, that kind of life that whatever God has given us with, some of us more fortunate than others, and those of us who live in peaceful countries that are still peaceful should give thanks to God for that. I, for one, do. Here we are, William Butler Yeats's A Man Young and Old. Endure what life God gives, and ask no longer span. Cease to remember the delights of youth, travelled, wearied, aged man. Delight becomes death-longing, if all longing else be vain. Even from that delight memory treasures sow, death, despair, division of families, all entanglements of mankind grow, as that old wandering beggar and these God-hated children know. In the long echoing street, the laughing dancers throng, the bride is carried to the bridegroom's chamber, through torchlight and tumultuous song. I celebrate the silent kiss that ends short life, all long. Never to have lived is best, ancient writers say. Never to have drawn the breath of life, never to have looked into the eye of day. The second best's a gay good night, and quickly turn away. Well, W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats, he hated reality, really, and he's kind of saying the best life is never to have lived. That's what the ancient writers say, and he, in a way, is sort of agreeing with that when the alternative is to live as the apparently, as he puts it, the wandering beggar and the God-hated children who live in poverty, watching the laughing dancers throng the long street. It's sort of an image that he hated himself, of unhappy people having to cope in a cruel world. He much preferred to escape into beauty and myth and magic, and he sort of invites us with most of his poetry into his own world, where we can get away from reality for a bit, really. That's so often, I find, the message in William Butler Yeats. I'm not blaming him for that. he does us all a favour in a way when he takes us out of the reality of today's world into his world. And I love going through that door into his magical imagery. Well, today I will set my house in order and not seek to manipulate others. I hope I succeed in that. Thank you for listening. Have a good day yourselves.